Well, good evening, everybody. It is indeed a pleasure to welcome each and every one of you to our Invest Small Grand Bahama Business Seminar hosted by the Grand Bahama Port Authority. My name is Shameen Johnson, and I am a Business Development Officer. It is a pleasure to have each and every one of you participate and really get a lot of wonderful information tonight from our presenters. Without any further ado, I will follow protocol as we do in the Bahamas and as Bahamians with opening in prayer, and then I will introduce our Business Services Manager, Ms. Dame. So let us pray. Heavenly Father, we come before you this evening, God, giving you thanks and praise for yet another beautiful day in our country. Lord, we ask that as we share information that will benefit our businesses, our communities, even our homes, Lord, I ask that you would keep us, Lord, continue to watch over us, help us to use this information for the betterment of our island and by extension our country. Lord, I ask that you would bless each and every participant, every presenter this night, and may this information be used, Lord, for all of our benefit. This is our prayer in Jesus' name, amen. As I mentioned earlier, my name is Shameen Johnson. I'm a Business Development Officer with the Grand Bahama Port Authority, and it is my pleasure at this time to formally introduce a very important lady in our department. She's our Business Services Manager with responsibility for small business support and development, training, promotional initiatives, grant funding programs, as well as special events and conferences. But beyond that, LaShawn Dames is a consummate professional. And today when I asked her for a little bio, she said, Charmaine, actions speak louder than words. And I can certainly say that her actions, her professionalism, her attention to detail for our company is something that we truly, truly admire. I present a modest and humble leader as our lady who will be bringing remarks tonight on behalf of our Business Development Department, Ms. LaShawn Dames.
Good evening. Good evening. And thank you so much, Charmaine. That was a wonderful intro, despite the little bit of information that I gave you. So thank you so much. Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining this call with us. I cannot say how much of a pleasure it is that you have allowed us into your spaces this evening as we seek to impart some good information, information that will help you not only as a business owner, but as aspiring entrepreneurs seeking to launch new opportunities in this new environment. I would like to thank our presenters who are going to be bringing the information to you this evening. We have Mr. Lawrence Palmer, who is the president of Freeport Insurance Agency. And as you're all aware, we are heading into the season that Grand Bahamians and Albaconians, we get a little bit unnerved by it, especially now post 2019. But Mr. Palmer is going to bring us some excellent information, how we can not only prepare ourselves and our homes, but more importantly, those revenue parts of our business, how we secure them and how we plan for if we have to face a challenging situation. We also have with us Mr. Torres Hanna, and he is going to be sharing with you guys about how you have the ability to access capital through a program that he is working with. I'll let him share all of the details on that. So I want you to listen in carefully, because Freeport is about to turn the corner, and there are some amazing opportunities on the horizon, and everything that he shares this evening you're definitely going to need. We also have with us Ms. Deidre Lundy Rose, and she is the Managing Director at Admin Professionals and Career Life Development. She's going to be sharing with you a very important aspect, especially for MSMEs. We've all gone through the process of Dorian and even in the pandemic. but grants were a significant part of how a lot of the businesses were covered. And so she's going to be sharing with you information on how to access those grants, what you're looking for, and the vital information that you need to have on hand in order to access the funding that you need. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I encourage you, pay close attention and listen in and apply the information learned. More importantly, think creatively, be disruptive, and be a game changer as you seek to imagine the new Grand Bahama, the new Freeport that is on the horizon, not just for Freeport or in the East and in the West, but for every Grand Bahamian. You all have opportunities to capitalize on, and the information that we're sharing this evening is in an effort to help you to realize them. So thank you, everyone. Welcome and good evening. I am going to turn the microphone over and the screen over to Mr. Trevor Simmons, our Business Development and Marketing Officer here at the Grand Bahama Port Authority. Anything in the innovation and tech sector, you're going to see him on. He is such an amazing young man, and I hope that you will, in your applause way, welcome him. Trevor, over to you.
Thank you, LaShawn. I'm flattered. So before I introduce our first speaker, I just wanted to let you all know that if you have any questions, there will be a Q&A section at the end of each presentation. But if you have some pressing questions that you just want to get out there during the presentation, you can feel free to ask them in the Q&A section of the Zoom meeting, and then we'll be sure to address those as we go along. And if this is your first time participating in a workshop with the Invest Grand Bahama Small Business Bureau, I'll just let you know that we love to give out prizes. We love to do that. So as you listen to what each of these presenters are relaying to you, make sure that you take your notes, because you will have opportunities throughout these presentations or throughout today's workshop, that is, to win a few prizes. So our first speaker, Lawrence Palmer, has spent more than 30 years in the insurance industry with a wealth of knowledge and experience on both company and agency sides of the business in underwriting, sales, and claims management. He's an associate of the industry-leading Chartered Insurance Institute of the United Kingdom and holds the designation Chartered Insurance Practitioner. Mr. Palmer currently serves on the board of directors for the Grand Bahama Chamber of Commerce and as chairman of the Small Business Development Committee. He is the president and founding principal of Freeport Insurance Agents and Brokers Limited here on Freeport, Grand Bahama. So ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Mr. Lawrence Palmer.
Well, good evening, everyone. Certainly a pleasure to have been invited to participate in this very timely effort and initiative led out in by the Grand Bahama Port Authority. As LaShawn mentioned, I too am very excited about Freeport and its potential. And I have told everyone that would listen that this is the most excited I've been about Freeport in 20 years. And I feel that we are really this time on the cusp of realizing the awesome potential we have. And so consequently, it's very important that particularly small businesses position themselves to take advantage of the opportunities that will come their way. We live on an island that faces the constant threat of hurricanes, among other perils, and consequently, as small business owners, we do need to be prepared and ready to sustain our businesses, even in the face of these challenges that we have. And so this evening, we are looking at the subject of the general subject is the importance of insurance coverage for your business. And we are going to address various aspects of why insurance is important. So I'm going to try now and share my screen with you as we go into our presentation. Good. I believe I'm sharing. Good. And so the importance of insurance coverage for your business. Insurance, is it worth the fuss? Is it worth the fuss? And this evening, we're looking briefly at several subsets of this topic. And one is the importance of having insurance. And then secondly, what are the insurance considerations for owners versus those who may be renting the space that they operate their businesses from? What type of insurance cover do I need? And the $1 million question, is insurance affordable? And what should I do pre-loss and post-loss in terms of preparing my business for the possibility of a loss and to ensure that it emerges in a position that enables it to continue operations? And then finally, how to get better insurance terms. So I've left that one for last so that I hope it will give you an incentive to stay awake and to listen. And so here we go. The importance of having insurance. When we look at the island of Grand Bahama, and that's what we're focusing on today, I've given you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 reasons there, or 9 reasons why you should have insurance. As we go back, as you know, Dorian, in 2019, there were $2 billion in insured losses between the islands of Grand Bahama and Abaco. When you consider our relatively small populations, that is an astronomical figure in terms of losses. And then we go back to Matthew in 2016, which was a $400 million loss. And when you go back to Francis and Jean, and in 2004, that was a $200 million loss. So if you look at it, it's progressively becoming worse. The losses are becoming more catastrophic, affecting more of us and also more severely. And so in addition to hurricanes, we have other perils. You have fire, you have exposure to all sorts of other perils. And so the reason that you need to insure your business is to ensure that in the event of loss, you are in a position to rebuild, to repair, or to replace those affected part of your business premises and plant. If you are not insured, it really puts you in a tough position because you will have to fund your repair and your replacements from your own resources, which you may not have, or those resources may be needed to repair your personal dwelling. And so if you are insured, those resources that are necessary to put your business back up and running will come from your insurer. And that enables a business to have a jump start on the competition. Because if you are up and running and your competitors aren't, then who's going to benefit? And so the fact that you are insured, as I said, gives you that head start, that leg up. And for businesses, you have to consider the various assets of your business. Your buildings, if you are the owner of your building, your plant and equipment, your forklift, your cash registers, your computers, your freezers, your coolers, that sort of thing, your vehicles, and then your stock or your inventory. All of these items should be insured. And because they all represent an investment of money that you will require if they need to be replaced. And then in addition to the physical assets, if your business is rendered inoperable because, again, the physical assets are damaged and your business is unable to operate, then you're also facing financial loss because of the lost revenue that you would have generated if you had been able to keep your business open. And so you need also to consider loss of profits insurance, all very, very important. And so, and this is not only after hurricane, but it's also necessary after events like fire or any other sort of catastrophic type loss situation. A lot of businesses fail to recognize the importance of liability insurances. If you are in the food business or any product that you sell, or for that matter, any service that you render, you are in a position where you are exposed to the risk of causing injury or damage to the property of your clientele or customers. And therefore, businesses require what we call public liability insurance or professional indemnity insurance in the event that you give advice that may cause loss for your customer. Then there's also the aspect of employer's liability. So you have, as a business owner, a duty to your employees. And so these employees, in the same way that you have a potential liability to your customers, you have the same liability risk when it comes to your employees. If you fail to operate a safe working premises or provide safe methods of working or provide safe tools to work with, and an employee is injured as a result, it can cause liability on the part of the employer, and it will mean that you have to compensate that employee. And those or the sums required for compensation can be such that they can actually render you bankrupt. And so these policies are very basic, very simple, very cost effective, but also very necessary. And so we talked a bit about hurricane losses by hurricane, but there's also, outside the hurricane season, we have to remember that there's the fire risk and the lightning risk and explosion and theft and burst pipes and malicious damage. All of these are risks that businesses face, and they need to be protected against them. One of the considerations that we have to look at is that if you are an owner of the property from which you operate, and you are in a great position, and as compared to someone who is a tenant. And consequently, you have to sit and review those things that need to be insured, and those liabilities that you need to be protected against. And so insurance is based on what we call a principle called insurable interest. Any incident, any peril that can cost you financially in a direct way, you are able to insure. So if the building that you occupy is damaged, you own it, and if it's damaged, you are faced with a repair bill or replacement bill, then you have the right to insure that. A tenant cannot insure a building that he doesn't own, because if the building is damaged, he has no responsibility to effect repair to those premises. But as we go on and look at the various responsibilities of an owner versus a tenant, so the owner of a building will insure the building itself. You will be looking at what we call your landlord's fixtures and fittings. So that's all of the plumbing and electrical and maybe the air conditioning fixtures and fittings that are provided with the building. All of those you insure. One of the things to remember in your insurance program is to ensure that your fencing and your walls and your gates and your outdoor signs are also insured. They're specifically mentioned on your policy. Otherwise, generally speaking, they tend to be excluded. And then if you are, again, the owner of the property and you're operating a business, the inventory, the stock, you need to insure that, and you insure that for really what it would cost you to replace it on your shelf, not for the retail selling price, but what it would cost to replace it in your inventory. And then we also mentioned loss of profits, i.e. loss of revenue that would be that would occur if your building is, or if your business is unable to operate. And then you also, if you have rental units in your building, you have the ability to insure for loss of rental income. If your tenants are unable to occupy the premises due to damage and they have to relocate, you will have lost income, and consequently, you have the right to insure for that. And then also your liabilities that we mentioned. As the owner of the building, you have to ensure that you're covering your liability to the public. So anyone who walks onto those premises, whether it's in the parking lot or on the porch or inside the building, you have a duty to that person to ensure that your premises are in such a condition that it causes no harm. And if it's not, you have tiles that are unevenly laid, you have debris that folk trip and fall over. Those things can render you liable, and you need to be insured in that respect. As a tenant, you will insure your furniture, your equipment, anything that you have brought onto the premises. And then don't forget your leasehold improvements. You know, we spend a lot of money fixing up these rental spaces, putting all sorts of wonderful lighting fixtures and subdividing and wonderful paintings and all sorts of things that we do. Those, again, can be and should be insured as part of your assets. Then, of course, your plant and equipment that you brought onto the premises, the inventory, and then I mentioned an additional cost of working. You can insure your loss of revenue, but you can also insure simply the cost of relocation, if that's all that's necessary. For example, if your business is, you're just simply providing a service and you need to relocate to another venue, then the policy can pay the cost of ensuring that that happens in a very timely fashion for you. Then, of course, the same liabilities that you will incur as an owner of the property, as a tenant, you also have that responsibility to the persons who come onto the premises and are utilizing your services. They are in your space. You have a liability, a risk exposure there, and it should be insured against. As we look at business interruption insurance, again, loss of profits, consequential loss, they all talk about the same thing. That is a Dorian photo of our premises and shows where how high the water level went. And fortunately for us, we only had a couple inches of water inside, enough to make it unpleasant for a while, but not enough to render it unusable and unoccupiable. But if it had been, then again, we would have needed business interruption insurance in order to get our business up and going again. So it will cover things like loss of gross profit, loss of wages for your employees, additional cost of working in case you need to get machinery and equipment and stock in very quickly, and it's going to cost you extra to do that. The policy can pay that. If you have tenants, loss of rental income, and all of these losses will be covered only as a result of physical damage or prevention of access to your building. For small businesses, we do have what we call a combined policy, which lumps everything together for you in one package, which can be quite useful for smaller businesses. And one of the things that we need to remember while we're talking about business assets is not to forget medical insurance, health insurance, and also life insurance. It's only a minority of Bahamians who have health insurance, and we only have a couple major medical facilities in the country. And while that situation is about to improve for Freeport, as Doctors Hospital set up their facility, it's very important that you have medical insurance because for yourself as a business owner and operator, and also for your employees, again, to ensure that there is continuity and in your business operations and they are not disrupted unduly because you have employees who need medical treatment and cannot access them. And also that goes as well for life insurance, particularly for your key employees, your partners. Maybe you should ensure that you have life cover, because if something happens to them in terms of death or even long-term disability, the policy has the ability to compensate you financially for the loss of the role that they would have played, ensuring that your business revenues are not interrupted. And so when you are looking at choosing cover, there are several key considerations. One of them is, well, who's the insurer? Are they AM Best or any of the rating agencies? Have they been rated? This means that their financial situation has been analyzed and they have come out with their ability intact. Their ability to settle claims has been reviewed and approved. What is their claim settling reputation? How did they treat you in Francis and Jean? How did they treat you in Matthew and in Dorian? They take 2 years to get paid, or did they come in very quickly and settle you up? Does the policy cover include catastrophe perils, including overflow of the sea. I heard some horror stories in Dorian where some folk didn't have flood cover. You need to ensure that these things are covered in your policies. As I mentioned before, the walls, gates, and fences and outdoor signage included in your coverage. You have solar plants, which is becoming more and more prevalent and popular. Are they covered under your policy? Are your generators, fuel generators covered? The sums insured represent the replacement value of your property. Are you adequately insured? If you're not, you're going to be penalized in that you do not recover the full value of your loss. What are my policy deductibles? The deductibles differ tremendously. There's no deductible usually for losses by fire. If you have a loss by say burst pipe or theft, the deductibles are fairly small. But if you have a loss as a result of hurricane or tornado or tropical storm and flooding as a result of it, the minimum deductible is 2% of your sum insured. And you do have, the option sometimes of increasing them, or insurance may have increased them. Make sure you are aware of what that deductible is. And don't forget to include the impact of VAT in calculating your values. You need to ensure that it's included in your pricing of your sums insured. So those are very, very important. And so is business insurance affordable? Is business insurance affordable? Well, when you look at the future and what's being predicted for us is that we're going to have more hurricanes and they're going to be more intense. We're probably going to have more pandemics. That also has been predicted. And so insurance is essential to continued business operations and therefore must be regarded as an integral part of doing business, as vital and as necessary as having electricity and water, having good IT systems, as necessary as paying your VAT and your employees. Don't look at it as some optional extra. It is an absolutely essential part of your business costs. And so therefore, you need to operate on the basis that I have to have it, and therefore the pricing of my product must reflect the cost of my insurance as well as the costs of the various other business expenses. Most agents offer premium payment schedules that can be synchronized with your cash flow and to ensure that insurance can be made more affordable. And then, as I said already, you must factor in the cost of insurance when pricing your services or your products. Okay, and then insurance cost factors. How do I get the best possible terms when it comes to the cost of insuring my business, my home, and I need to put a plug in there that as business owners and operators, you must not forget to cover your personal assets as well, because failure in one area, financial stress in one area is going to affect you in both. And so you need to ensure that you're personally protected. And so what is it that drives the cost of insurance? So things like the construction material of your building. When you are looking to construct a building, is it going to be concrete block or wood? is the roof going to be asphalt shingle or metal? If it's a metal roof, you have a better rate. You get a better premium. If you have things like impact windows and doors and hurricane shutters, those things will help the cost of your premium. The location of your business, you have to be, concerned. Are you in a perennially flooded area? Is that where you're located? And every year you're on the edge of your seat, wondering whether you are going to be able to survive. Even as flat as Grand Bahama Island appears, there are differences in elevations in different areas. And we see that emphasized by those areas that have escaped flooding over the years. Then a monitored alarm system that will warn of theft, intrusion, or of smoke or fire alarms. Those again help and assist in obtaining better insurance rates. And we look at something like the exclusion of foundations. Is one of the things that insurers have recognized over the years that it's very unlikely in a non-coastline base structure that the foundations are going to be so damaged, even in the most severe cases, that a building that they cannot be used for reconstruction. And so they have allowed the exclusion of foundations from your cover, which then allow you to reduce your sums insured in terms of replacement value by some 10 to 15%. And also that will have the same effect on your premium. And then also we look at your policy catastrophe deductibles. As I mentioned before, there's a standard 2% deductible on these policies. That can be increased in respect of loss due to hurricane and flooding. That can be increased for a premium discount. So instead of, for example, instead of the standard 2%, you opted to say, I'll bear 5% of my damage cost, then you will get somewhere between 10 to 15% discount on your insurance premium. The thing, however, there is that you need to make sure that you do have in your cash reserves the amount equivalent to the policy deductible in the event that you do actually have a claim. And then finally, as we look at claims settlement and facing the possibility of a claim, you have to prepare before the loss actually happens. So pre-loss, you need to make sure that you have your policy contracts in your possession. Then you must review your cover with your insurance agent. Again, things like the deductible, the adequacy of the sum insured, ensuring that I have flooding cover, all of these things you need to ensure are ensconced in your insurance policy. Having things like property appraisals done that certify and ratify what your replacement value is, again, can be important. Every few years, it may be expedient to have one done. It's also good to ensure that you have good financial records. It's very important. And I'm happy that the imposition of VAT has caused a lot of businesses to do just that, because it's very important that you have good financial records, including, what do you have in your inventory? Where did you purchase it? How much did it cost? How much of it was sold? So that if you have a loss adjuster can go through it very quickly and adjust your claim in a very timely manner. Post-loss, then you need to ensure also pre-loss, it would be good to have pictures and photos of your business and your property on file, just so an adjuster can see what it used to look like should it be so unfortunate enough to have incurred major damage. Then post-loss, you will need repair and replacement estimates. Be prepared. It's worth it to hire experts to put your claim together, an engineer or an accountant, depending upon the severity of your loss. They are experts in this area, and hiring them is well worth the cost. And then should you be unfortunate enough to have a loss, take action to mitigate your loss, to reduce the damage, to get your business back open. Keep your documentation, keep details of the costs, because these are all a part of your claim, and you can recover it. And so again, as I mentioned before, it's very, very important and essential to have insurance. It is better, in my view, do not look at insurance as being unaffordable, a luxury. It is not a luxury, it's a necessity. And every business requires it in order to have business sustainability, particularly in the environment in which we operate. So many businesses were forced into bankruptcy and closure post-Matthew, post-Dorian, post-Francis and Jean. And if you want longevity for your business, insure. Work with your insurance agent. They will certainly be able to offer you terms, offer you payment schedules that will enable you to make your insurance costs affordable. And as I might have mentioned before, hey, if you can't insure everything, at least cover something. It's better to have some cover than none at all. And remember, insurance in our environment is essential, it's vital, and should you feel that you are in a position where you can't afford it, don't hesitate, reach out to your agent. That's why we exist, to ensure that insurance is a product that is able to be accessed by all and not just a few. So that brings us to the end of the presentation. And if there are any questions, I'm more than happy to do my best to answer and respond.
Thank you so much, Mr. Palmer. Looks like we have a few questions in the Q&A. The first question says, does your company offer insurance for a beachfront business about 80 to 100 feet from the shoreline or high watermark?
Actually, it all depends on the nature of the business, construction of the building, the height above the sea level. Generally speaking, the closer to the high water mark you are, the more it's going to cost you. And sometimes, depending, as I said, on all of the relevant factors, you may have a difficult time. But I would wager, in most cases, we are able to assist. Right. So it's something that you can feel free to reach out to us directly, and we'll do our best to help you.
And another question asked, can businesses in the Queens Highway District still obtain insurance coverage?
Oh, wonderful question. One of the things that happened after Dorian, or one of the questions that ran across all of our minds, including us in the insurance business, is that whether we would be able to get reinsurance protection that will enable coverage to be offered in some of these areas. And Queens Highway, yes, we can offer cover. It would be better if you're building there, build with an elevated foundation. I think the Port Authority is requiring that anyway. And that would be ideal. If you are, there's some areas of Queensland where have not been flooded. If I were looking for a place to construct or to rent, I would look for one of those. If you're in an area that has been flooded, in the vast majority of cases, we can assist you. You may have to take a little higher flooding deductible, but cover is generally speaking available.
So for micro businesses, those very small businesses, what types of insurance specifically in relation to them would you recommend that they start with as a foundation?
Well, again, whether you're a micro business, medium size or large, the same principles apply. And that is, you have assets, physical assets that you need to protect, whatever they are. Whether it's the building, whether it's plant, micro business, whether it's just your plant and equipment, whether it's some inventory, you need to purchase cover to protect it. You also have the liability aspect of it. So again, if you have employees, you need employees liability. But as all businesses, tend to have customers, you do need your public liability cover to ensure that your risk exposure in that regard is also protected. So one of the things that insurers have done, they've put together what we call a sort of package, a policy, put a policy, all the various policies that you need in one package for a small business. And that makes it, again, a bit more cost effective for you. And you do have the option too of choosing which aspects of it are more pertinent to your business. And so, but again, as I said, micro businesses, you have assets, you have liabilities, they all need to be insured against.
All right, we have two more questions. One states, can you tell us more about the combined small business insurances and the range of cost?
Well, it all depends upon, again, your sums insured and the values of your inventory, etc. But the range of cover would range from the fire and the hurricanes. We would cover business interruption. It would cover public liability, employers' liability. It can cover money, the loss of money, cash on your premises if you're still using cash, and that sort of thing. So it puts together all of these basic covers that are necessary for small business operation in one package for you. And again, I would state that the cost to you would simply vary based upon the values that you have to insure.
All right, and the last question, do you guys carry customs bond insurance?
Customs bonds, yes, we do it. Custom bonds are, how can I put it? They're not really insurance, they are financial guarantees. And a financial guarantee is really a banking instrument. So if you go to the bank and ask them for a bond, and they will ask you for collateral security to the value of the bond that you require. Insurers may ask you for some collateral security, and depending upon the degree to which you have insured your other assets with them, that will determine the amount of collateral security that they require from you, if any at all. But it's generally available. It's generally available. The cost is determined by really what assets you are insuring with the insurer.
All right, and we have one more question. Someone asks, can they customize their commercial insurance?
well, customized in the sense that in respect of all the options that I have previously mentioned, certainly there's quite a bit of latitude there that can affect your premium cost. And so, each business has some unique features, etc. And certainly we can adjust the various policies to fit your particular business needs.
All right. And we have one more question that got snuck in, and then we'll go to let me transition to the next presentation. What is a blanket insurance?
Those blanket insurances tend to be policies that, I'll give you an example, maybe a financial institution takes out, say, with its mortgage holders, and they will insure the assets for you, right? And so the danger of that is that the actual property owner is not necessarily aware of all the terms and conditions of the policies, and the terms and conditions of the policy have been customized to suit the need of the financial institution, as opposed to that of the individual property owner. And so attention to details such as deductibles and adequacy of sums insured, and whether your contents are covered and that sort of thing, can be overlooked and really come back to bite you in a severe way after a major catastrophe. And we've seen it happen. If you are in one of those situations where the financial institution has decided to cover your property as part of a group with others, you need to insist on knowing and receiving a document that details the coverage that policy is going to give you, and to ensure that you are adequately protected.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Palmer. And if you don't mind, can you drop your contact information and location in the chat, just so people can have a reference if they need to reach out to you for any other questions?
Certainly, my pleasure. Thank you so much.
All right, and I think we have just a quick ad for Mr. Palmer.
We are your friends at Freeport Insurance Agents and Brokers Limited, and your insurance needs are very important to us. We offer insurances of every kind: residential and commercial properties, motor vehicles, marine pleasure craft and commercial vessels, medical malpractice and professional indemnity, life and medical. Our job is to do all the heavy lifting for you to ensure that you get the coverage you need at an affordable cost.
All right, and as mentioned, we are giving away prizes. So the way it's going to work is I'm going to ask a quick question that would have been, where the information would have been in the presentation, and the first person to respond in the chat will win their prize. So the question is, what percentage of Bahamians have health insurance, according to the data in Mr. Palmer's presentation? So the first person to respond with that answer in the chat will receive our first prize. So while that's happening, let's keep the show going. So our next presenter, Mr. Torres Hanna, he has over 11 years of experience in financial services and has established a significant network across all sectors and cultivated a thorough understanding of institutional investor needs. A graduate of the University of Bahamas with a Bachelor's of Business Administration in Accounting, Torres started his accounting career in public accounting with a Big Four firm and is a qualified CPA. Torres then entered the investment fund space at a boutique fund administration firm. Here, he was able to refine his creative outlook when providing solutions to institutional clients and partners. As his interest in technology and using it to change the lives of everyday people grew, he now serves as the head of venture capital activities for FTX here in the Bahamas. Torres brings this vast knowledge and experience to the developing venture capital space in the Bahamas. So our next presenter, I present to you, Mr. Torres Hanna.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for the warm introduction. Let me first start off by thanking the organizers of tonight's event for inviting me, and certainly to those of you who are tuning in. You know, it is often said that the success of the Bahamas is predicated on the success of Grand Bahama, and so I am delighted to share a few brief minutes with you to introduce you to something that I think will be of great benefit to the business community in Grand Bahama. As was mentioned earlier, my name is Torres Hanna, and I lead the venture capital initiatives here in the Bahamas for FTX. Since opening in the Bahamas late last year, FTX, through its Bahamian subsidiary, FTX Digital Markets, has sought to make an impact throughout our Commonwealth through the efforts in its corporate social responsibility department. On the island of Grand Bahama in particular, we were delighted to host our first Crypto Connect event in February, which sought to bring together crypto and Web3 enthusiasts on the island to hear from and connect with some of the leading pioneers in this space. The event is well attended, and I am sure that this is only the beginning. While on the island, through its efforts in the department, donations were made to some of your local nonprofit organizations as we seek to support their efforts as they carry out their respective missions. In line with the overall commitment of FTX to the Bahamas, we have established a venture capital company called FTX Bahamas Ventures Limited. The mission of this company is to seek out and find brilliant Bahamian entrepreneurs and business persons who have great existing operations and wish to expand, or great startup ideas that we can invest in and support. We recognize and appreciate how difficult it can be for businesses, especially startups, to access sufficient capital to develop and grow their ideas. In some cases, we believe that we can be that bridge to assist and provide meaningful support. I wish to emphasize, however, that this is not a grant initiative or what you may be accustomed to with some of the other funding organizations. The world of venture capital is slightly different, and it does involve some participation on our end. To this end, we are looking for businesses and ideas that have the potential to scale. And as we seek to do our part to help businesses to grow and support, we see this as our way of actually contributing to a more robust capital environment in the Bahamas, and a means by which we will help to create a more prosperous Bahamas, especially for Bahamians. I'm happy to say that I will be on the island along with other members of our team on the 18th of July to the 20th, where we will be sharing more information on who we are, what our mission is, and how entrepreneurs can potentially access funding through this initiative. So I invite all of you to please be on the lookout for more details and locations, which will be shared with the organizers of this event, who I'm sure have the reach to ensure that everyone is aware of the date and time of this initiative. I just wish to mention at this point that we are not industry specific, and this is not geared towards persons in the tech field, but rather anyone who may have a great idea that it's innovative, bold, and as Ms. Dames mentioned earlier, we're looking for the brightest and the best. And so I recognize, along with our partners here, that on every island, there are Bahamians with great opportunities and who probably will not be able to access funding through the traditional channels. And so I invite all of you now to take a look at our website, www.ftxbahamasventures.com, where you can find additional information on this until we get there. I thank you again for your time, And I think that my remaining time with you will be more valuable if I entertained questions. And so I welcome any questions that individuals may have at this time.
So I see a pretty lengthy question. It seems as though you may be reading it. Can you see the questions, Torres?
Let me see. This is in the Q&A. Okay. Based on your question. Okay, which industry? Okay, I think I know this particular project. This is a good question, and I thank you for asking it. So what we're looking for, obviously, is ideas that have the ability to grow and to really reach the maximum scale, and not just things that are focused on the Bahamas, but ideas that have the ability to reach a global market. And it is, I would say that should be your guidance with respect to the ideas with which we're seeking to fund. And the reality is that we cannot fund every idea, but not because we don't fund it mean it's not a good idea. There may be other avenues for funding that may be better suited to accommodate it. And given the regulatory requirements that we have, the reality is that some things we simply will not invest in, because it is probably in the best interest of that company to go elsewhere so that they're not subject to the same requirements. To answer your question, have you funded any companies yet? To date, no, we have not funded any companies yet, but we are in advanced due diligence with about 3 or 4 companies, and we expect to make a decision on them very shortly. And I will be sure to share the website before I leave.
So I have a question in relation. You said you're going to be on the island July 18th to the 20th to share more information. For those, I guess, 2 or 3 days that you're going to be here, what is that going to look like? Obviously, you're going to be sharing, the initial information, what you guys are looking for, but will it be opportunities for, one-on-one sessions, or how are those 3 days going to flow?
Well, thank you for the question. Yes, we will be sharing general information. Some spaces have been available for us to meet with individuals one-on-one who would like to discuss their pitch or their ideas. And so we want to keep it really brief. We will be covering the entire island. We won't just be in Freeport proper. And so that, hopefully that gives you some insight into what we're seeking to do. It'll be a rather short presentation followed by general questions and answers. And then the remaining time, we will be talking to individuals who may have further questions, as some people, prefer to ask questions one-on-one as opposed to in a group setting.
Okay, and with this venture capital fund, is it actual grant money, or is it scenarios where you investing with ownership stakes, or what does it look like in terms of how the funding works?
Okay, so like I mentioned earlier, it is not grant funding. Mm-hmm. It is more venture capital investments. So it doesn't necessarily mean that at the beginning there's an equity stake. In most cases, it may be a convertible note that at the option of the holder can be converted into equity at a later date. But to be clear, it is not grant funding. Understood. But all of that in the world of ventures, and again, part of this is seeking to build something that is obviously big in the States. FTX proper is a beneficiary of venture capital funding. And so part of this initiative is to spur the growth of this industry in the Bahamas so that we could create more avenues for people to access funding outside of the traditional banks and the other institutions that provide funding. But it is not grant funding, no.
And is there like any restrictions based on island? Like, you have a certain allocation for one island, a certain allocation, or is it just flat across the board?
No, we recognize full well that the talents of Bahamians are spread across every island. And so it is not island specific. There is no specific allocation for any island. And again, just to reiterate, it is not industry specific.
Okay. And in terms of the process, I guess, from initial engagement and vetting and ultimately to a company possibly receiving funding, how long would you estimate that process takes?
Well, we pride ourselves on being quick to respond as best as we could. Obviously, depending on what the idea is, the nature of the business, all of that would determine what the level of due diligence requires. And so, you know, we will let you know whether we wish to proceed with giving it further consideration as quickly as possible. But after that, that's more a conversation between us and the founders, and, you know, how quickly the relevant information can be provided, allowing us to do the necessary stress testing on our end to see the viability of it, to verify the scalability of it. And so while there may not be, I cannot say to you that, okay, in 6 weeks, you're going to get funding, because we are a regulated company, which means that any investment that we do make, we do have to get approval from our regulators. So it is not for me to say, okay, in 6 weeks, you're going to get funding. And that's why I said it's going to be different from what we're used to. But we believe that through this initiative, we're going to help businesses to grow and to scale and to obviously improve the economy of the Bahamas.
Okay. And question in the chat, you know, the concept of venture capital funds and this nature may be a bit new to Bahamians. If someone wanted to learn more, educate themselves about how it works, where do you recommend they go to, you know, read up and educate themselves on it?
Well, I think it's obviously we live in an internet-filled world, right? There is tons of materials on the internet that individuals could bring themselves up to speed on it. I would say that is the first place to go. And then certainly if it is that you make a pitch and we find it to be interesting and wish to pursue further conversations, then, you know, any questions you're free to ask us as well, and we would, you know, direct you or give you the information that it is that you're seeking. But I would say the first place is right at your fingertips. It's on your phone for many of us, and that's where I would say start.
Right. And is this particular fund specific to Bahamians, or will foreign projects be considered as well?
That's a really good question. This particular initiative is seeking to invest in Bahamian entrepreneurs, or where Bahamians have participation in the project, meaningful participation in the project.
So I guess that would answer the second question, which is, must you reside in the Bahamas, or is it as long as you're Bahamian?
Bahamian entrepreneurs.
Got you. Noted. All right. Do you guys have any other questions? Again, if you need to ask any questions, feel free to type it in the Q&A, and Torres will be more than happy to answer those for you. I see a question here. Someone asks, is your organization ready to lend funds?
Lend funds?
Yes, Ms. Gorman, I'm not sure if it's a Miss or Mr. Can you provide more clarity on the question, please?
Okay.
I see.
I see. Is your organization ready to lend funds? Unfortunately, we're not licensed to lend money to individuals or to businesses. No. So I think that would be outside of the scope of the organization.
All right. And two questions. Are there a minimum amount of businesses that you're looking to fund? And then the second question is there a maximum amount of funding that a project can receive?
To answer your first question, no. This is, like I said before, it's actually a company. And so we're in business to invest in good businesses and good projects. So there's not a maximum amount of businesses that we will give consideration to. And to the second question, if there is a maximum amount, the simple answer is we ask people to really put in thoughtful pitches and to put in what it is that they need in order to get their ideas or to get their business to reach the level of expansion that they seek to accomplish. And so, no, there is not a maximum amount to ask for. At the end of the day, the world of venture capital is a fundraising effort. And so if you have a good idea and you need to raise capital, you are engaged in fundraising. And so whether we decide to participate at a particular point and you need to seek other fundraising, then the ultimate goal is to raise the target amount. And so we tell people to, in your pitch deck, say what it is that you need. And so that those potential investors who you do reach out to, they have a good understanding and they can determine the level of participation that they wish to give, if it is that they wish to participate.
All right, and on that note, someone asked, can you expand about how a company's pitch must or should be made? Are there any particular things that you look for so that they make sure they include it in their presentation?
I would say that a lot of information, I think, will be shared when we reach the Grand Bahama.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't really wish to delve too deep into that, only because it really depends on the nature of the idea. However, what I would say is that the key factors that drive our decisions with respect to potential investments are things that are bold, that are innovative, that to some extent are disruptive, ideas that drive national development, while at the same time having the ability to offer great returns, both for us as the investor and also to the founders. And so I would say that your pitch deck should include elements that highlight that.
All right. And is there a timeline on this whole initiative? Like, is there a window that you're doing this, or is it till the fund is depleted?
There is no timeline. At the end of the day, this is not, like I said, to be clear, this is not like a grant initiative or you have this window to present ideas. The reality is this is a company that is operational in the Bahamas that seeks to provide funding, whether that's over the course of the next 2 to 3 years or the course of the next 6 to 7 years. Again, the ultimate goal is to invest in great people, brilliant minds, brilliant ideas. And obviously, as we seek those returns, we could continue to invest further in Bahamians and to really create a Bahamas that's prosperous for those of us who are from here and for others who may decide to reside here.
Perfect. And can you remind us again, what's the website where people can go to get more information in the meantime?
The website is, and I'm going to type it here, www.ftxbahamasventures.com.
All right. Are there any other questions? And can you reiterate, I know the details will come up, but can you reiterate the dates you'll be here, and if, I guess, the locations, if you have them confirmed as yet?
Well, we will be in Grand Bahama on the 18th of July to the 20th. The locations are still being finalized. However, I commit to ensuring that the information will be broadcast well in advance so that persons who are interested can make themselves available to join us. And we look forward to hearing the wonderful ideas that rest in Grand Bahama so that we could assist in the rebuild efforts and making Grand Bahama what we know it is supposed to be.
All right, and I think I have one more question. I'm not sure before this, it says, would you consider an arbitrage between abandoned Russian ADRs?
I don't know I don't know what the question means, so I would prefer not to answer it.
Understood. Mark, if you don't mind, you probably can be able to ask that question in person when Mr. Hanna is here in July 18th to the 20th, and him or his representatives may be able to better understand what you are asking. All right, are there any other questions? Someone asks if completed pitches can be uploaded to the website.
Yes, we have already received over 100 pitches to date. A few from Grand Bahama, as was mentioned earlier. And so please feel free to upload your pitch and we will be sure to review it and to respond.
All right. Any other questions? Last chance to get them in until July 18th to the 20th. All right, so with that being said, thank you so much, Torres, for sharing that information with us. We look forward to your arrival to Grand Bahama to share the details on how some of these businesses, these entrepreneurs can take advantage of this venture capital opportunity.
Thank you so much for having me.
Not a problem. And I think this actually serves as a great segue into our next presenter. Deidre Lundy Rose was born on the island of New Providence, where she spent her early childhood years. Her family relocated to the island of Grand Bahama when she was 12 years old. Patrice, as she's affectionately called, received her early education at Ridgeland Primary and Bahamas Academy Schools in New Providence. She then transferred to Grand Bahama Academy and Hawksville High Schools in Freeport, where she received her diploma with honors. Patrice attended Northern Caribbean University, formerly known as the West Indies College, Jamaica, and Bahamas Institute of Business and Technology. She holds a degree in education with high honors. She is a certified corporate trainer and is currently pursuing a degree in office administration and a certificate in HR management. Patrice served as an educator, entrepreneur, and business owner for more than 16 years. She established Rose Academy Early Learning Center in 2005. However, in order to support her family, she reluctantly rejoined the working world in 2009 as an employee, where she served as an office administrator and island manager at Jarrell Investments for 6 years. After leaving Jarrell Investments in 2015, she re-entered entrepreneurship and established Admin, Business, and Career Life Consultants, where she is currently the managing director. In 2017, she was elected as president of the Downtown Freeport Business Association, where she currently serves. In 2009, she joined the Grand Bahama Port Authority team, where she presently serves as the collections coordinator. In 2021, she established the corporate trainer, where she serves as director of education. Patrice also serves on the board of directors as a director at Kingdom Business Empowerment Network. She's also a mentor in the Bahamas Government Mentorship Program. Patrice is a proud mother of 2 sons, Carlos and Shadri, and bonus mother of 3, Chardonnay Charles Jr. and Reginald. So I present to you all Miss Deidre Lundy Rose, aka Patrice.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, Trevor. Thank you, LaShawn, for having me share with you the information and the knowledge that I have. And I pray that whatever I impart to you, it will help and be beneficial to someone in some way. Okay, let us begin. Let me share my screen with you. Share. Okay. Okay, let us begin. Crafting a strong grant application. Okay. The topics that we're going to cover are types of grants, institutions and organizations that offer grants, eligibility and criteria of grants, completing the grant application, and supporting documents. Types of grants. Okay, there are 2 types of grants that I am aware of, and always remember I am only giving you information that I have gathered through the years. I have assisted a few businesses with applying for grants, and I would say about 98% of my clients that I applied for were successful in getting the grant. Okay, so let's go on. For the grants, the first grant that we're going to talk about is the grant that we're used to. the one that has the no repay conditions, the one that we love, because that means we don't have to pay back. But we have to remember that there are other conditions to go with it. So don't get too excited, okay? Next, there is the secured loan grants, okay? And in that grant, there's a partnership between two organizations or two entities. It's the organization that is lending, that is offering the grant, and then it's a lending institution. Now with this one, there is a repay condition. That we don't like that one too much, but yes, we have to repay. Let me give an example of what it is that I mean. Access Accelerator is offering a secured loan. So Access Accelerator is the grant organization, and they have partnered with lending institutions. They have their list. So you would ask them which institutions they're partnered with. And you would go to them, meet their criteria. Remember, you have to meet criteria of two organizations or two entities at this time, and meet their criteria. And then you will go to the bank that they have listed of your choice, and you will meet the criteria of the bank. The bank will then approve you for a loan, hence the word loan. That means you have to repay. And once you meet those criteria, once you make the approval of the bank, the organization, Access Accelerator, will then be your collateral. Okay, so we know with every loan that you get, most loans that you get, you have to have collateral or securities. Access Accelerator will meet that requirement for you. Okay, like we said, this is a repay condition, and most times the repay is 100% of the loan you have to repay. And then on very few cases, the requirement has a preset percentage of the loan to pay back. But that is rare. I've only heard about that probably once. Okay. Next, we will cover the institutions and organizations offering the grants. There is the government, the Bahamas government. And like I mentioned, Access Accelerator, and I know that the Bahamas Development Bank also assisted with the secured loan, secured loan grants. Also, there are the private organizations like the Grand Bahama Port Authority, the Bahamas Red Cross. I also know that Zabaz, the Island Luck Cares Foundation, they also offer a grant, as well as the World Food Kitchen also did a grant. There are many other private institutions or entities that do offer grants. So you always have to keep your ear to the ground for those upcoming grants. Next, we're going to talk about the eligibility and the criteria, which is very, 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 very important. Even before you decide to fill out an application, you have to make sure that you meet these criteria, because then you would literally be wasting your time if you have not met the criteria. Okay, so first off, you want to make sure that you are meeting the industry or the category in which they are focusing on. And here are a few. They're either focusing on tourism, manufacturing, agriculture and fisheries, education, food and beverage, technology, and the list goes on. So you have to make sure that you line up with that industry. Okay. Then there's the maturity of the business. There are two different categories. It is the new or the startup. The usual requirement is 24 months or less. I know that there is one grant that is being offered now that they say that you can be 12 months, less than 12 months. Okay, so you'll be a newbie. Okay, and then there is the existing business. It's usually categorized as 24 months or more. Then it's the size of the business, and the different categories are micro business, that's 1 to 9 employees, then small business, 10 to 49 employees, medium size, 50 to 49, 1 to 49 employees, sorry, and then large businesses, that's 250 employees or more. Now, I will state that all of the grants that I know of were geared towards micro or small businesses. So make sure you meet that criteria when you are about to apply. Then we have, which is very important, business ownership. We have to bear that in mind. And the business has to be Bahamian owned, And that means that at least 51% of the controlling interest must be owned by a Bahamian. Okay, so be very mindful of that, remembering that we're walking through the criterias of the grants. Now, the criterias will vary from grant to grant, and therefore you have to get the information for each grant. It's not straight across the board. Excuse me. Okay, so get the information for that particular grant. And then you have, excuse me, and then you have the business license. There are 2 licenses for the Bahamas. It's either the Bahamas government license or the Grand Bahama Port Authority license, depending on your location. Now, I know that the Kickstarter program offered by Access Accelerator, if you are 12 months or less in business, they stated that you don't necessarily have to have a license, but they will walk you through the process of getting your license. Okay, so you can bear that one in mind for those that are wanting to establish a business. Okay, another criteria which is very, very important is training. A lot of persons say, oh, I don't have time for training. You have to remember, you gladly accepted the funds, so therefore you have to meet the criteria, and a part of the criteria is training. You would either do a pre-training, that means before, sometimes even before you fill out the application, they require that you do some kind of training. And then there is the post. The post training is usually a little bit more extensive, a little bit more in depth, and you have to meet that requirement. So if you accept the funds, gladly, you will gladly join the training. Okay, and then it is the inspection of the business. You have to be willing, if they ask you to come in to inspect your business, in which they do sometimes, you have to have your business accessible to them. And then there is this one. A lot of persons don't understand and realize and know that they have an economic impact report that they ask you to do. Now, I know Access Accelerator usually asks for this either monthly or quarterly. And this, I saw on one of the grants, they actually run it for 3 years. So that means your financials will be, you have to make your financials accessible to them for 3 years. So before you accept the money, make sure that you have your financial program or your softwares in place so that you can do proper financial keeping, okay? And like I said, be prepared to report to the organization in which is giving you the grant, okay? All right, so let us go to completing the application. I always tell individuals, don't wait for a grant to be offered before you begin to get your information together. You know, Bahamians, we like to be last minute, we always running late, and that is a big issue when it comes to the grants, because when they say they close on the 10th, they close on the 10th. Okay, so I encourage persons over and repeatedly, do your business plan now. Actually, you should have had a business plan before you started your business. But if you don't, have a business plan prepared. Yes, it's costly, but in the long run, it'll help you to keep on track. The business plan is not just for you to get money, but sometimes you get sidetracked and you can refer back to the business plan to say, hey, what was my original idea? And sometimes if you have to tweak it, you will tweak it, but everybody should have a business plan. And let's get to the completing the application. Okay, so the general information, which are the business details, the industry, like I said, that you are from, as well as the number of employees, the mission statement and the vision statement, and then the business description. The mission, vision statement, and the business description are vital, very vital, because this gives them a quick view of what it is that you offer, okay? And this actually is kind of a persuasive element, because you have to tell them, you have to prove to them, or you have to persuade them, hey, this is what I'm offering, and this is so good what I'm offering, I want you to give me money, okay? And we have to remember that at all times when you are going to create these three sections within your business plan, okay? Okay, there is the category of sole proprietorship and partnership. With that information, you have to provide the information of all business owners, not just one, not just two, but all. Okay, so their owner details like the name, the gender, the age, etc. Okay. Then we have the incorporation, the incorporated companies. You have to present a memorandum of an article of association, certificate of incorporation, registration of directors and shareholders, certificates of incumbencies, and directors' resolution of raised funding. Now, this document is usually provided to you by a lawyer when you have completed your incorporation. Then we have the purpose of funding, which is, I think, the most important part of the application. And they ask you three questions. They ask, how will the funds be used? You need to tell them, and you need to be clear about how the funds will be used, because this will be one of the criteria that will more or less judge you on whether or not you will get the funding. Then the next question is, how will the funds impact your business? And then last but not least, how will the funds impact the economy? Let me give you an example. When they had the grant for the technology, I applied for my business, and I then had to answer these three questions. So how will the funds be used? I told them, because I lost everything in the storm, I had to replace computers, printers, as well as we wanted to do some training for our website. And we also built a website, and we wanted to do training for that and how to move through it. So that was my answer to their question, how will the funds be used? Then we had, we answered the questions, how will the funds or the things that we did impact our business? So definitely the website, we were able to reach out to more persons, not just on Grand Bahama, but the entire Bahamas. So our clientele was able to grow. So now we have clients on Abaco, Eleuthera, we have some in Nassau. So that website that they funded allowed our clientele to grow. Okay, and then the next question is, how will the funds impact the economy? Now, how that happened for us is we were able to grow our clientele and reach more persons, but we're now able to assist persons, businesses with grant writing. And we are also able to help persons write business plans. We also, some of our services we have applying for a license. We also do training as well. So this is how we impact the economy. So these three questions, like I say, this is the ticket that will definitely make or break your application, okay? Then the funding itself, the money itself, let's talk about that. The amount of funds being offered, they depends on the organization, and it depends on what it is that they're offering. It's usually $5,000 and up, but like I say, the criterias, the offerings are different from grant to grant. Okay, so you pay attention to that. I know they've had some grants that were lower than $5,000, but I say a dollar added is a dollar more, you know, a dollar more than what you had. So go for it and be appreciative of what it is that you get. Okay, and then there is the funding amount requested, meaning how much funds are you requesting? So if the grant is up to $10,000 and say you decide, hey, I'm going to go for the max because I need some stuff for my business, you have to remember that they will only fund a percentage of your project. Sorry. So they usually fund from 65 to 90% of your project. So if your project is $100,000 and you submit that as your project, they will only give you $90,000. Okay, so they will not fund 100% of your project. Okay, supporting documents. Now, this is where a lot of persons fail because they don't submit something. Okay, I will let you know, I sat on one of the boards with judging grants, and if you left off an ID, that you would be put aside because you did not complete the application. Okay, so some of the things that you have to present is for a startup. Not every grant is asking for a business plan. Some of them are asking for Canvas. Canvas, if you don't know what a Canvas is, you'll have to Google, but it's actually like a spreadsheet that just generally gives information about your business, but you have to have key points within that canvas. And then you would have the business proposal that gives a little bit more details than the canvas, but it's not as detailed as the business plan. And then, as I said before, depending on the grant, it is what they ask for. So some grants still ask for a business plan. Okay, so the business plan, don't forget, some of them may ask for financial, some of them may not. They use for a new business, they usually ask for whatever it is that you have, the existing, I think it's a minimum of 1 year. And then for the existing business, they ask for the good old faithful business plan, executive summary, product and services, description, marketing analysis, SWOT analysis, competitors analysis, and business financials 2 to 5 years. I want you to pay attention to how many times I said the word financials. That's why it's so important that you keep proper records of your business. Even if your business is just making $1,000 a month, keep records, because at the end of the day, they are going to ask for your financial records. And then other supporting documents that they would ask for are the owner's identification, like I said, business license, the driver's license, NID card, voter's card, passport, get those together, make sure that they are attached to whatever they ask for. Then it's the business license. Like I said, the Bahamas government or the Grand Bahama Port Authority, depends on which one you are licensed with. They would ask for the certificate of good standing, or sometimes you may be able to get a letter of good standing. And then there are the quotes for what it is that you want to do, whether or not it's a service or whether or not it's a product or inventory that you want to purchase. You must submit those quotes, and do not forget to ask your vendor to add their banking information to that quote or invoice. Okay, that is very important, because they will not pay the funds to you. They will pay the funds directly to the vendor in which you are getting the goods or services from. And then I'm about to wrap up. The grants that are currently being offered that I know about, there may be a few more, but I will give you those that I know about. And we're going to drop that information in the chat for you so you can be able to access it. There's the Access Accelerator, their flagship program. This is an ongoing program, so they do not have a close-off date. I assume they will eventually have one, but you have to bear in mind that this one is a secured loan grant, and bear in mind, it's a repay condition. Okay, also with Access Accelerator, they have the Royal Caribbean Kickstarter program. This one closes at on July 15th, so you have another couple of days to get in. I think this one is definitely geared towards tourism. And remember, I said to put every document that they request in there, please. And then this one has a no repay condition. We will drop, like I said, that information will be dropped in the chat for you, or you can just visit their website and you can access the different programs that they have. Actually, they do have other little initiatives that you can take advantage of. If you need my assistance or if you have any questions, I'm at Admin Business Consultant, Career Life Consultants, and we do assist businesses with grant writing. And there is a cost, but it is worth it. It's an investment, like I remind persons. You can reach me at 242-533-9113, as well as the email address is info@adminbusinessconsultants.com. We will drop that information as well in the chat. I want to thank you for listening attentively to me. I hope that the information that I shared was helpful or beneficial in some way. I want to thank you again, and we're going to now entertain some questions.
All right, thank you so much, Deidre. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to add it into the Q&A portion of the Zoom meeting. I have a quick question. Do you assist with international grants or only ones based here in the Bahamas?
For now, I'm only assisting with local grants, the national grants.
Okay, and someone asked, is it possible to get a copy of your presentation?
Yes, you can. You can just email me or WhatsApp me or call me, and then we can exchange information and I'll send it to you.
All right. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to add them to the Q&A portion. Does the Port Authority offer any grants or incentives?
I don't know of any at this moment, but I know that they are planning to have grants and initiatives in short order. So like I said, keep your ear to the ground, keep listening, make sure that you have all of the things that I mentioned ready to fire and complete those applications when they do bring out those initiatives and grants.
Yeah, I probably should answer that question too. But I know GBPA has done in the past, we have had a Capital Arena program initiative.
Definitely.
It's similar to Shark Tank, where you you pitch your ideas and you're able to get some grant funding opportunities. In the past, we've done our RISE grant program alongside Mercy Corps. And quite a few. LaShawn, do you mind sharing some information on some of the grant programs that we've done in the past and maybe planning on doing?
Okay, absolutely. So Capital Arena is the flagship grant initiative that the Port Authority would have introduced back in 2018. Unfortunately, since the storm, we've not hosted one, but we are looking to bring that back on stream by the end of this year. All right, so persons who are, we target mainly existing companies, but we are also open to new and innovative ideas from new companies. So if you have that idea and you are planning, you definitely want to dot your I's and cross your T's. I encourage you, Mrs. Lundy Rose is an excellent person who, for assisting with preparing those business plans and getting you ready to submit a project. So hopefully by the end of the year, we will have all of the details on that sorted out, but you want to connect with our social media pages on Facebook, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, because we will definitely be sharing the information there. As Trevor shared in the past, we have done partnership programs with Mercy Corps, the American Red Cross, and Bacardi. We've also done programs with the Grand Bahama chapter of the Red Cross Society, along with the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies with the SBR grant. And we are actually in the process of working with a number of other organizations trying to sort out additional grants that we will hopefully be able to introduce by the start of 2023. Like we shared earlier, Freeport is turning the corner. This is an amazing time for Grand Bahama, and we encourage you that if you have the ideas and you are you want to get them started, now is the time for planning, and now is the time for getting all of your ducks lined up.
Thank you so much, LaShawn. A few more questions here. Someone asked, do you help prepare business plans as well, Deidre?
Yes, yes, we do. I will give you this nugget. Access Accelerator actually assists with business plans. So you can connect with them, and they actually pay for a business plan if you are applying for their grant and you meet the criteria. So connect with them. That means that's basically a free business plan. So you have no excuses. And yes, we do prepare business plans for individuals. So you can, like I say, contact us by phone or email, or you can visit our website and send us a message.
Okay, next question. Can you go over again, how is a startup and existing business defined? What's the differences between the two?
The startup and the existing business, it's basically time, the amount of years that you have been open. So the startup is usually 24 months or less. Like I said, the Kickstarter program for under Access Accelerator, they are actually saying 12 months or less, which is good for some individuals. And then the existing business is usually 2 years or more.
All right, and
that's with a license and operating.
Got you. And someone asked as well, can a startup business apply for a grant to pay for its business license?
Yes, that Kickstarter program, they are actually, that's why they're saying that you don't have, if you remember, I said that you don't necessarily have to have a license for that Kickstarter program. You can apply with them, and they will actually walk you through the steps of getting your license and getting established.
Okay. Another question, any recommendations for writing a business proposal for grants when for yourself as a singer/musician?
First, with a proposal, like you said, like I said before, it's selling yourself, your product, which is yourself now, and you want to persuade persons that, hey, what it is that I'm offering is actually valuable, not just to me singing in the shower, but to other individuals, and it is beneficial through entertainment and the arts. So you want to just sell yourself within that vision statement, that mission statement, and like I said, the business description.
All right, and I see another question. What I think you mentioned earlier, but what are some of the private companies who are offering funding opportunities right now?
Well, I can't speak to right now, but I know that these are institutions or entities that usually do funding. Grant funding, like I said, it's the Grand Bahama Port Authority, as well as SABAS, I think it's Island Luck Cares Foundation, and the World Food Organization. Like I said, you have to keep your ear to the ground, because some organizations just pop up, and some organizations who have never given anything before sometimes create grants. So you have to listen out.
All right. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. Deidre's, the information is available in the chat as well. So if you have any questions later, the phone contact, the email, and the website is available as well. If you have any other questions now, please feel free to ask away. All right, so as we begin to transition, I know there's an ad that DG has that can be ran, and what we're going to do is give away our last prize for this evening. So in the chat, the first person to let me know, or the two types of grants mentioned in the presentation, they can win our final prize for this evening. So again, the two types of grants mentioned in the presentation, and you'll be able to win our prize.
Are you a starter entrepreneur or a seasoned business owner? The Corporate Trainer has designed the perfect masterclass just for you. Our Business Development Masterclass with self-paced courses and instructors coaching will help you to properly establish or grow your business. Our team of experienced instructors will support you as you navigate through your courses. Entrepreneurship 101, Making Your Business Better, Business Ethics and Etiquette, and Customer Service Training. Register today. Get in touch today. Designed to train, educate, and equip, built to empower. The Corporate Trainer.
All right, so I'm going to turn it. Thank you again, Deidre, so much for your presentation. Again, contact information is available in the chat.
I have a giveaway, Trevor.
Oh, you have a giveaway? Okay.
Yeah, I do. Yes, actually, for the Corporate Trainer, the commercial that you just listened to, we want you to invest in yourself, which inadvertently will be investing in your business. So that very course, which is the Business Development Masterclass to invest in you, we are offering for 2 persons. She's going to drop in the chat the link for the registration. So the first 2 persons to register, the first person will receive 100% tuition paid for that course. And then the second person will receive 50% tuition paid. So that information will be dropped in the chat. Okay, and that is our giveaway. That course is very valuable. Like I said, the Entrepreneurship 101 are for those that are starting up. That is, it's a self-paced course, and you would walk through all of the modules. We'll also have business etiquette and business ethics, as well as we have customer service training. That program is definitely for the business owner who's starting or wanting to make your business better. Okay, so I encourage you, even if you don't win the prize, definitely still enroll. And I don't see my information being dropped in the chat as yet. Okay.
Give us some time to get dropped in the chat, but
Yes,
we appreciate that so much. Again, guys, first 2 persons, first one gets 100% tuition paid. The second person, they get 50% of their tuition for that course covered. So you definitely want to take advantage of this as well. So I'm going to turn it over to Charmaine, who will leave us with some closing remarks for tonight's workshop.
Trevor, thank you so much. And I want to, first of all, say thank you to the participants, meaning you, our audience. I had a chance to peruse the participants list, and I kind of know most of you. So I just want to say thank you for spending 2 hours of your time with us tonight. You could have been doing anything else on this busy evening, but you chose to invest in yourself. And so I commend each of you as our participants, to our presenters, to Mr. Palmer, who obviously has already left. He had another engagement, to Mr. Hanna, to Deidre, Patrice. I just want to say thank you for the wealth of information. We have so much to look forward to. LaShawn has mentioned it. Trevor mentioned it. We are on a cusp of real change, and it's exciting to be living in Grand Bahama and to see what's going to happen, and more importantly, to be a part of what's going to take place and what has already started. And so I just want to say thank you. And then finally, last but not least, to my colleagues, each and every one of you in front of the camera, behind the camera, it is a team effort. It takes each and every one of us to make our team work. I'm a proud member of this team, the business development team, and a part of the Grand Bahama Port Authority. And so it is our pleasure as we end tonight's session. I also want to make mention that the recording will be shared. And so pass the word on, even for those who weren't able to participate with us live tonight. The recording will be shared. So there's always access to information. And this is a part of what we do within the organization of the Grand Bahama Port Authority. We want to empower, we want to ensure that you are successful, we want to ensure that you are profitable, and most importantly, sustainable. And it takes all of the partners to make this happen. And so again, we thank each and every one of you for your presence tonight, and thank you, and have a pleasant evening, and have a safe and a wonderful holiday weekend as well. Good night, everybody.